गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गाना शॉट। गाना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। प्रणाम, वणक्कम और जय हिंद। आज हम बात करेंगे अबाउट रिविजनिस्ट चाइना which is in decline and in a state of denial, and it poses a great danger to itself and to the rest of the world. Right. इससे पहले कि मैं आगे बढ़ूं, मैं कुछ बताना चाहता हूं आप लोगों को। पिछले एक हफ्ता, 10 दिन, 15 दिन, in fact, in the past 1 month, a lot of people have joined Gunner Shot new. I just want to tell everyone, welcome to Gunner Shot, first. Second, in Gunner Shot, I do fact-based analysis, right? And by and large, all my analysis of China is based on Chinese sources, right? Or historical evidence. It is not based on the Western ideology or the Western, you know, I, everyone would see. I quote either Yikai Global or Kexon Global or South China Morning Post or PLA Daily or Global Times and things like that. So that's my source, and from there I derive whatever ideas I have to get. And China is a difficult country to analyze. I try to make it as simple as possible for all of you. Okay, that's the first thing. Second, कुछ हमारे प्रोग्राम हिंदी में होंगे, कुछ इंग्लिश में होंगे। अगर असली बताऊं तो इंग्लिश में होंगे। दैट्स द थिंग। सो डोंट गेट अपसेट जिस भाषा में मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि लैंग्वेज इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, भावना इंपॉर्टेंट है और बताना आप सब लोगों को इंपॉर्टेंट है। कभी भी गलत हो सकता हूं मैं, कभी राइट भी हूं, पर जो यहाँ मैं बुलाता हूं, whoever I call on this channel to express themselves, I want to tell you, I don't stop them from talking something which is against my thinking process. I have no problem. They must come and give opposite views. Okay. Second, I don't have a guest on this channel. There's no one who's a guest. I call a person to come and express his opinion. And if I find that his opinion is not okay, I will put it across in as best manner as possible. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Then there's a gross need, huge need for us to know China better. The more we know China as we rise, the better we are able to handle China. And what one must remember about China is that China is under profound change. The change within China is viewed differently, and outside China, the impact is different. That's the first part. Second, we are living in interesting times where India is rising. So there are a lot of things which we have to take in this rise. Your geopolitical standing, your production, your manufacturing, your economy, your armed forces, everything will tackle it. There is no point in trying to look back over the shoulder कि भाई ये क्यों नहीं हुआ। जो क्यों नहीं हुआ उससे तो आप देखते रहो, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता। You have to look ahead. What you examine the past is for a reference to see what is ahead, not to blame anyone. It's not to blame a personality or a government that I'm here. To me, I reiterate, every government which has ruled this country or been in power of this country is my government. I have no politics. Okay? And as an army officer, I stood by the government whenever that particular government was in trouble, because that was the Indian government. And I wore that Ashoka pillar on my कंधे पे उठाया मैंने। ठीक है, तो उसको वो लॉयल्टी हम भूलेंगे नहीं। Okay. Now, having said that, Let's talk about this business of revisionist China, denial, decline, and danger. First, let's talk about the danger. What's the danger in this whole story? I want to put the danger first rather than come to it at the end. What's the danger? You have to go back to COVID. What did COVID tell us? COVID taught the world that dependence on any one country is bad because that country could weaponize that dependence, which China did. Hence, across the board, don't forget, across the board, all countries want to strategically dislocate and reshore. Some call it relocation, some call it risk, friend shoring, dislocation, de-risking, whatever you call it doesn't matter. The Chinese are convinced that manufacturing is going away from China and it will not come back. Remember that. They're trying to hold them back, but it's happening. And this is happening away from China, and that is not reversible. Like Apple has taken a decision, it will move away a large part of its manufacturing capability away from China to India, and that's going on. It's not reversible. No one's going to go back. Then, in the past 2 weeks, जब वो 2 सेशंस खत्म हुआ था, 1 महीने पहले, ये कभी नया एक लफ्ज आया, न्यू क्वालिटी प्रोडक्टिव फोर्सेस, Xi Jinping का. What does he want to do? He wants to spur innovation, growth through massive investments in manufacturing, particularly in high tech and clean energy systems, solar panels, EVs, all that. And he's also spending heavily on research and development, technology, high tech. He's creating an ecosystem of technology that will dominate global markets through dumping. That's the fundamental danger, right? But he doesn't have a solution how to persuade Chinese household to spend. They're not spending. China has been having an investment-driven manufacturing model, export-oriented, without any great internal consumption. What he's trying is to maximize that through technology. So he's not changing the model, he's not restructuring the economy. I think he's given up. My personal view is he's given up on the fact that China can spend or the Chinese can spend. So he's going to use technology. He's cornered certain technologies through which he can maximize his exports. So he wants to create another dependency of the world on China. That is the danger. Okay? But here is the problem. This is today's Yikai Global. India has already put curbs on solar panel imports. It's their problem. And they're worried. But they're saying, no, at this point of time, it doesn't matter because India doesn't constitute a great export thing. But they're looking at America, Germany, all like Europe, EU. Their main markets they're focusing is America, EU, India, Japan, and Asia, and all that. Because this is where the markets are. They have gone to Mexico and they're setting up factories in Mexico with the idea that Mexico and USA have a free trade agreement, NAFTA. Use that. But America is very clear. Now they've started saying, if you want that free trade to continue, tell us the source. And America is very clear that it will not depend on China. I mean, one should be very clear about it. The EU is exposed heavily into China. They've invested heavily into China. They're not able to come out of China. And China has started dumping cars. If China starts dumping cars in EU, the EU auto industry will break up. Your Daimlers and Mercedes and BMW, Audi, Audi, ये सब खत्म. That EU is not prepared to do. So there's going to be a war on. We'll come to that in the end. How this war will continue, we'll see. Let's talk of revision. Why is all this happening? It's happening because China is a revisionist state. And you have to understand why this revision is happening. And you have to go a little historically to do, and that's what I'm going to do now. China has a history of revisionism. अगर आप देखेंगे तो 1929 से 49 तक chiang Kai-shek का रोल था. That was a nationalist capitalist model. He wanted factories and industry and all that with American help. To a large extent, Sun Yat-sen, who was the founder of the modern China, also wanted it that way. He didn't visualize China to be a communist country. But then the communists took over in 1949. Till 1976, Mao made it a hardcore communist country. So there was a revision in 49 from nationalist capitalism, they shifted to hardcore communism. Then 78 to 2012, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, they wanted an authoritarian capitalist model. They implemented it. Now Xi Jinping from 2013 onwards, he wants a communist revisionism. Till about 5-6 years back, this revisionism was not apparent to the world. Today it is. For that, to understand this better, you have to look at the 19th party, 20th party, and COVID period and the 22 party Congress. Because इसका जो मूल आधार of revisionism इसमें है. If you look at the 18th Party Congress, the talk, it was conducted by Hu Jintao in 2012, all in October. It was about opening markets, market principles, development, of course, reunification. It was not rejuvenation, reunification. It was the 19th Party where Xi Jinping changed course. He felt China's time had come. So he spoke of new era, China is rich and strong, Chinese dream, rejuvenation. He spoke of unbalanced development. He also spoke of state control. No one understood that. Then came COVID. In COVID, we saw common prosperity, wolf warriorism, lockdown, dual circulation, which failed. Then he broke the property, edtech, and fintech sectors. And then came the 20 Party Congress in 22, October 22, 1.5 years back. What did he say? He said, dark clouds, black swan events, grey rhino events are on the horizon. He spoke of security. He spoke of military. He spoke of rejuvenation with Taiwan. Economy had taken a backseat. So 19 Party Congress, he wanted state control, but economy was still the mainstay. Because he felt by then the Chinese economy could not reverse. China's time had come. 20 Party Congress, he knew, बेवकूफ नहीं है वो जान गए कि वो आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते. And the only way the communists could continue in power was through security, military, technology, and all that. It's a change. So 1.5 years now in March, in the 2 sessions, he's come with a new story. We'll talk of that. Now there's a cult phenomenon in China which is on. What does this cult phenomenon say? It talks of Xi Jinping being the spearhead of a new era. And what is this new era? Important. You say the Chinese story, they tell that China has been in 3 stages of 30 years, the trio 30 years, 330 years. The first 30 years was of Mao, which ends with the Cultural Revolution. The second 30 years era was of Deng era, which extends with Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao up to 2012. The third is the new era, which has started in 2013 with Xi Jinping. 30 years, 30 years, trio 30 years. So Xi Jinping in his visualization is already saying a cult where he'll go till 43. He's already 71. So you can imagine. Okay? So this is going to be the third Xi era. He has got no intention of leaving. Then in the 20th Party Congress, he made the 2 establishes, which defines Xi Jinping as the core leader of the party and cements his ideas as guiding principles of China's future development. And then 2 safeguards, which assure Xi's core status within the party and the party's centralized authority over China. So, any way you look at it, he's got power and he's exercised that power ruthlessly. Sacked generals, sacked top business people, sacked financial guys, everyone in the name of corruption. Political opponents have just been wiped out. The moment he gets a whiff of anyone who's disloyal to him is gone, like the Qin Gang and Li Shangfu. They're just gone. So he's actually whitewashed the whole system to look at him. So whatever he says is it. And he has turned out to be absolute Marxist, Leninist, Maoist character. Maybe it's time I do a character analysis of Z once again. I did it once, it was a little mixed up, but we'll do it again. The trend of revisionism in China. Sometime back, it was good to be rich. People had money. Today, why are nationalists attacking the country's heroes? Who are the heroes? Alibaba, Meituan, Tencent. People with money are being attacked. And then China enacted a state secret law. With that law, they are getting hold of every businessman, foreign businessman, and putting him under that law for espionage. Okay, and there's just 2 points of revisionism. There are more. I'll not get into it. So, foreign businesses can't survive in China unless they stick to whatever Xi Jinping says. People with money are being attacked. So, China's focus is not economy. Okay, but he has said that China will be a financial superpower. That's last month. But more interestingly, part of revisionism, this is today's news, South China Morning Post. China's Communist Party finance organ draws institutional roadmap for the sector. The complete financial sector of China has been taken over by the Communist Party. Period. So now they can lend the way they want. They can close banks the way they want. They can give haircuts the way they want. And I'll talk of the property sector because it's relevant to understand what's happening in the property sector. Because if you don't understand what's happening in the property sector, you will not never understand China. But I'll come to that later. Now, part of revisionism, very important this the heart of revisionism, which we have to understand. The old social contract was we will give you prosperity, you will give up freedoms. ये तो सबको पता था. The new contract is about common prosperity, whose details are not known. Common prosperity is not a new term. It's been there from Deng's time. But Xi Jinping has been given new ideas about it. But no one knows what's there in that. Generally, everyone knows common prosperity means take from the rich and give to the poor. He's taken from the rich but not given to the poor. There's no stimulus to the poor. I'll tell you why. Today, the way I look at it, the new social contract which is emerging between China and the Chinese, the PRC and Chinese is, you give us your freedom and we will give you security and pride. That is what Mao spoke. So China is reversing course to become a Maoist state. But Xi Jinping wants it to be a rich Maoist state. Even Mao wanted China to be rich. He also industrialized. He also had this great leap forward. What was the leap forward? Agriculture will be exported. Industrial zones will be set up. It failed. Why did it fail? It failed because over centralization. Like over centralization failed in Russia or USSR. He's returning to that. Right. Now we'll talk of denial. We've spoken of danger, we've spoken of revisionism. So we'll talk of denial. So far, like I said earlier, it was an investment-led manufacturing cup export model. They deny, and this failed. That is why the slump happened. The structural change was necessitated. The debt-fueled cycle. Too much into infrastructure. It failed. But now, Xi Jinping is reinforcing that. The entire Chinese system is in denial of the fact that failed. They say, "ठीक है, ठीक नहीं," but we're going to do it. We're going to do it with the new productive forces and technology. Interesting. Okay. You know, just about 10 days back, Xi Jinping interacted with a lot of CEOs in the Bao Forum in China. Before this, in October, November, when Xi Jinping went for the APEC meeting, met Biden in San Francisco, he interacted with the CEOs of American CEOs then. In fact, he put in a condition that unless I am able to meet the American CEOs, I'll not come for that meeting. So American CEOs met him there. Nothing happened for 6 months. American CEOs have gone and met him now. What did he tell the American CEOs? Many issues have come out, but this came out through a tweet from one of the persons who had an interaction with the CEOs. So it's interesting to read what is there in this. And this isn't part of the new China Development Forum, which is in Bao Forum in March. Xi Jinping said China's economy will not collapse. China will not collapse. Economy has not peaked as for him. He says, I know how to fix the economy and I will be a financial superpower. And as per him, there's nothing. There's no problem. Denial. What does the CEOs thought? They felt that the governing system of China is not going to change. Business is still terrible and confidence in the economy is low. China will have a centralized economy. The focus is to support large-scale state-owned enterprises which dominate the economy and not revive the private sector. So Everyone has to deal with the state-owned enterprises, which are part of Xi Jinping's PRC, which will get subsidized. There's no private sector. Private sector is tanking. It's dangerous to be rich in China. This comes out again and again. Wealthy Chinese are fearful and selling items that are seen as ostentatious, such as private jets. Earlier, it was said, oh, so many billionaires in China. No more. They're trying to get their money out of the country. This is a fact. And I'll prove it later. Even as Xi invites US leaders to China to talk about how open the country is, American brands are getting walloped. US officers have been raided by Chinese officials and financial firms. This is the hard fact which we have to understand. Okay. Now, is this the only thing? No, it's not the only thing. There's more to it. Xi Jinping is not willing to give a stimulus to the people or to local governments to spur the economy. He feels there no free money which will be given in a communist society for them to spend. He says people don't have, go through hardship. He wants China's monumental manufacturing machine to make higher value goods, continue state control over economy, direct banks where to lend. Banks will lend only where he wants them to lend. Okay, all this. He says China will have a kind of economy to rival other world powers. Stress on high-end manufacturing, electric vehicles, semiconductors. Now, he wants Chinese companies to buy all these things from China's manufacturers and create an ecosystem of technology that dominates the world markets. That's his intent. वो पहले भी हमने बताया इसके बारे में. Little repetition, but reinforcement. Now, this is what the Economic Observer of China says. And this they have not said now. This has come out about 3 months back. So there's a continuity in their thought from then for about 3-4 months back to now. They have a plan in view. He says the pharmaceutical industry, automobile, in electronic, AI, wagara, 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 says they are at a low point in capacity utilization. They have a lot of capacity not being utilized. Okay? Right. Photovoltaics, lithium battery are also considered to have overcapacity. In fact, today in Ikai Global, it is a lot of low-end photovoltaic and EV factories are closing down. It's a fact. Right. But they say most of these excess industries are in the development stage. Then here comes the great denial. There is still a large amount of demand at home, which is not there, and abroad, which is being resisted by everyone. And the demand is expected to continue to grow. So they don't want to change. You have to understand that. Why am I saying this? Because today, past few days, a lot of news articles are coming out, Twitter, in fact, day before yesterday, Sharma also said, oh, they're going to dominate the EV market. They're going to dominate the solar panels. China is not fool. They have made out their plan, all that. But I did a check. The complete market of EV, photovoltaic, high-tech, everything, monetized, will not come to more than 30% of the property sector. Historic. Because where they're going, there's going to be a lot of competition. I told you, solar panels, already India is putting its brakes. BYD India, it is only allowed to sell so many cars already. They did nothing very great. So there is a thing. And India is at the forefront of all these bans and things like that. And others will follow. This is what I foresee. Otherwise, they have to hand over their economy to China. And if anyone thinks that their people are going to hand over their markets to China without any reciprocity, then we are living in a fool's paradise. That's not going to happen. Okay, this is last week. This is actually a Chinese article which I have translated. Li Yunfu, Dean of Institute of New Structural Economics of Peking University. He says China has still 8% growth model potential and can achieve 5 to 6% growth at the same time. Potential 8% can achieve 5 to 6%. He says China's contribution to world economic reaches about 30% every year, which means that China is still the country with the most opportunities in the world. So this kind of articles are awash today in China, in Chinese. So they are giving a message internally to their people that all is well. वो है ना वो all is well. All is not well, but he has to give this message internally. Or let's talk of decline. We've spoken of danger, we've spoken of revision, denial. The denial, you see this? This is part of the denial system. They're not fixing what's the problem. The decline. Imminent. You're going to see going ahead, maybe in the next 10, 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, everything is rosy in China. Their exports are up. Their exports are up incidentally. Their PMI is up. Because the stress is on manufacturing, PMI has gone out. But their imports have gone down. So there'll be a bounce. Some bounce will be there. Because if you're increasing manufacturing, jobs will get generated, things like that. But is that it? If we believe that, then you are falling to the influence ops of China. अभी तक हमें बेवकूफ बनाते आए हैं. अगर हम सब दोबारा जाके उन बेवकूफी करें और चाइना का टोपी सर पे लगा लो और बोलो कि भाई हम तो बेवकूफ हैं, आप ही बुद्धिमान हो, आप तो दुनिया को टेक ओवर कर लो. ठीक है, तो ये है. ओके, देयर इज इंटरेस्टिंग आर्टिकल. ये भी साउथ चाइना मॉर्निंग पोस्ट का है, ये मेरा नहीं है. इट सेज व्हाई आर सो मेनी कंट्रीज रीथिंकिंग देयर रिलेशन विद चाइना. ये कब आया? ये 10 दिन 15 दिन पहले. आप हर एक आर्टिकल इसको रेफरेंस कर सकते हो क्योंकि ये सब इसमें बोलता है एवरीवन सीम टू विन वांटेड टू विन ओवर चाइना फ्यू इयर्स बैक. सब जाते थे चाइना के पास, बट नॉट नाउ. Many countries feel there's ideological misalignment. And many countries want to align with democracies. They feel China doesn't respect other forms of government and other countries. This is a feeling. And this is reinforced from that first slide I showed you about COVID. There, China carries out economic coercion. वो तो हमें पता है. श्रीलंका, मालदीव्स, अम्बनटोटा, नेपाल, सब में पता है क्या है इनका. ये तो नजदीक पाकिस्तान को तो गधा बना दिया. कहीं भी लगा दो चाबुक, वो कोई कोई बोलता रहता है. There's a safety involved in dealing with China or lack of safety involved. Then there's a large public view in all these countries. Economics no longer drives Chinese foreign policy. Economics is not the great issue of China. It is military, technology, and diplomacy. Which are the countries? I collected these countries ek karke from different articles. It is USA, UK, Italy, which is broken off from the BRI. First European country which signed on the BRI and has broken off. Canada, India, Norway, very recently. Netherlands, Argentina. Argentina said, I don't want communism in my country. Javier Milieu. He says, I want to go to a complete capitalist model. I want to go with USA. Kenya. I did this program about Kenya with Ambassador Gurjit Singh. At that time, none of you saw it. आप लोगों ने बोला यार क्या केन्या के बारे में क्या दो देखना वो दे कम टू इंडिया जैसे इंडिया इज ऑल्टरनेट जो चाइना के साथ है वो तो चलेगा बट न्यू लेट्स फर्दर एक्सपेंशन टू इंडिया Zambia, Brazil. President Lula is supposed to be a leftist. He was supposed to be Xi Jinping's Ka's dost. He also wants to move away from China. These are all reported news. Turkey. Turkey is also worried about dumping. जो इसका पिस्सू है. Germany is struggling hard. Germany, EU is struggling hard to get out of the clutches of China. Because they are overexposed to China. They don't know how to get out of it. But they're very clear that they're not going to allow their industry to collapse. Dumping. So what will be the net of all this? The net is, where will these exports go? They'll go for some time before all countries will come, or there'll be high tariffs on Chinese goods to make them equivalent to local goods, which means who will buy? Everyone knows the quality of Chinese goods. Russia is hedging bets. Why is Russia? Bar aake Russia comes to India. Why? Hedging bets. It knows that it has cut off its relations with USA. USA will not come back in a hurry. Even if Trump comes back, those relations will not this thing. EU के साथ problem है, पूरा Europe के साथ. Europe now feels threatened by Russia. It will not go back. So Russia is also now competing with China in the same ecosphere where China exists. Less India. So that is Africa, Asia, South America. There are a lot of countries which will go with Russia. They'll not go with China. So this is happening. Okay. This is a very interesting piece by Ray Dalio. Now, Ray Dalio is an investor. He's the CEO of Bridgewater. For the past 5-6 years, when I've been focusing on this fellow, he is pro-China. He was pro-China, investing heavily into China. 2 weeks back, he comes out with an article in Time. What does he say? He says China's leadership has changed from being minded to local communist nationalists, from being open-minded to loyal communist nationalists with purges and crackdowns. He says people are suffering due to falling real estate prices, equity and other asset prices, employment and wages. Debt and financial problems exist in many companies and local governments. Aging is a heavy weight for their children and government finances. Retirement is at 53, as per him. That 55 is for women. Okay, fine, I'll say 53. Let's go by what he says. The average age of death is 84, life expectancy. People without income must be taken care for 31 years. And if you go into the article, he says China doesn't have a plan. This is not going to run away. Already there are 20% people who are aged. This is going to increase to 30% in the next 5 to 10 years. For every person who is aged, there's one couple who's to support them. उनका इकलौता बेटा या इकलौता लड़का, बेटी या बेटा has to support them. 2 people. That couple has to support the child also, only child. Some cases, they're only single. So if there are going to be 20% old people in China, There are 40% of Chinese population have to support this 20%. %60 of Chinese population will be difficult for them to come out of their trap, economic trap. That too when the property prices are low, which was their main form of saving. Look at it, stocks. I showed you some bounce back is there in stocks in China, Abhi. But over the 10-year period, they're still down. They're not giving returns. So asset prices are gone. So where will people go? The internal wealth gap is fear inducing. This is the third, fourth article which says the rich are being hounded. Not, it is not glorious to be rich in China. The rich, yeah, everyone feels are selfish and corrupt. Elites are least supportive of Z. Those who feel Z is trying to take care of them are strongly supportive of him. They're poor people and he's letting them down. Now there's an absence of clear communication. It leads to imaginary speculation. We know communist president never communicates well. There's never a straight communication. कोई बोलता ही नहीं कुछ. Communicating directly is not the Chinese leadership way of doing things. This great power conflict is causing investors, foreign and domestic, to diversify or leave China and to fear being discriminated against globally for being friendly to China. So if you're friendly to China, okay, you could get discriminated outside. There's a new angle which I never knew. This is what Ray Dalio says. He's a capitalist. He's come out with another article. He says, no, ठीक है, फिर भी हम चाइना में जाके पैसा लगाएंगे, वगैरह वगैरह. So he has to invest somewhere. He says, Chinese are having problems getting other countries and companies to accept them being there and or investing in them. That's a known fact, which I've been telling. China's excess capacity leads to dumping. Its economic model is based on increased share of world manufacturing output. Countries which imported Chinese goods will prevent them with rising tariffs. Just think. That fellow is increasing his manufacturing. India, we are manufacturing. And if we accept goods from there, our manufacturing will collapse. That's how our API has gone to China. A lot of our manufacturing collapsed in the period 2000 to 2010 because it's gone to China. We are now trying to revive that. And this fellow will come, we'll allow him. The same problem is with everyone else. They'll take that time. We are in the forefront of this story. So we are okay. I showed you that thing. We're not allowing solar panels to come in. This Southeast Asia, this Yikai Global, Southeast Asia proves top destination for Chinese investors buying house overseas. They want to go. Micro and small businesses, shrinking market, 70 unsustainable cash flows, 71% have outstanding receivables, debt. They're not getting money. Construction and manufacturing industries are seriously affected. Okay? So there's debt. Debt is piling up at every level. Now let's talk a little about property. It has replaced a large part of property sector investment with manufacturing, which I've told you. Shifting from one kind of over investment to the other. Weak demand. How much will the world be able to buy what China is selling at any price? The question which someone has asked. Technology might not save China if it doesn't have the right friends to buy it. Simple. Okay? Where is money going in? Look at this. Yikai Global. He says very infrastructure, high-speed trains, which are not running anyway. Michael Pettis, who's in Tsinghua, professor in Tsinghua University, he also says they're putting more money into infrastructure. Employment. Yesterday also I showed this same graph. Unemployment was running at 21, 22% for the youth. Suddenly they changed and it dropped. Again, it's gone up. The employment scenario is grim as per this. Okay. Now, this fellow is a communist. Out and out communist. You read his articles, you know he's a communist in South China Morning Post. This fellow says property firms inflated sales and fabricated profits, everyone knows. Developers and local authorities remain badly indebted, everyone knows. Next, Chinese municipal authorities have spent on airports, subways, museums, and parks and stadiums and all which they don't need. There's no return of income. It's not going to come back. China property fraud is due to excessive borrowing. That means it's a fraud. That old communist chap is saying it's a fraud. And this 30% of their economy. And I told you, this is not going to recover, nor will these EVs match up to this investment. He says, what's China's plan for deflating the property bubble? First priority, complete all in construction projects. Okay? हुक्म दे दिया इन्होंने. Deliver purchase flats to borrowers. जिसने भी खरीदा उसको दे दो. Pay suppliers and contractors who can pay construction workers to ease social pressures. Onshore and offshore financial creditors are the last to be served and they'll not be served. वो तो गए काम से पैसा. So there's no profit. जितने भी local government financial vehicles which gave bonds out and which people have bought their assets, they're all washed off. So how will China people revive with Xi's policy? That's the danger. We'll come to it. Property developers can't play financial creditors. No stakeholders willing to step forward to clean up the mess. China not going to rescue anyone. Chinese consumers have become reluctant to buy property even when prices are on a downward path. So there is no revival. And this article came 10 days back by a Khattar communist. If after this, people say, no, yeah, China, yeah, this is a Western thing, construct and China will come back. But let me see. I've not been wrong about China so far. I don't think I'm wrong. BRI. It's got a $50 billion shortfall in BRI as of today. So projects can't be completed. The more the projects get delayed, the more costly it is. China will not have money to fund them. Pakistan देखिए, हमने बात भी किया उसके बारे में. देखो, worrying malice, China's economic and social fortunes rest on its youth, but they are laying flat and letting it rot. Tangping or Bailang. बाढ़ में जाए. Bailan is बाढ़ में जाए. Actual. Bailan means बाढ़ में जाओ. Now what is Xi Jinping doing? He is asking CCDI, which is Communist Party Central Disciplinary Investigation Committee, to sort this out lying flat. मतलब वो कम्युनिस्ट को चाबी दे रहा है कि भाई ये lying flat को out करो. So there's going to be some kind of a crackdown internally. He's already given the hukum. ये 3 दिन पहले का news है ये. Then the financial sector is being absolutely finished off. There's no money in the financial sector, no pay raises, pay cuts are the thing. No thing. That financial sector, like I told you, it's going to be part of the Communist Party. Tell me which communist financial sector will survive. So this is what we're going to see. Okay, private firms, they don't have money. They're not being paid. Payment delays. This is the red tape. ये कहानी है ये. Okay. Look at this. This is again. This is from Kexin today. I just picked it up for 10 minutes before I started this. I was going through Kexin Global. I saw this. Why China's middle class is cutting back on private daycare centers. But my son is there. We got a small grandson. Both husband and wife are working. So they go and put them in a daycare. It costs a bit. They're not able to spend. Yesterday I told you malls are closing, dining not taking place, too many taxis. ये वो कल देखिए कल वाला और ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ और ये अमेरिका से नहीं आ रहा है खबर ये तो चाइना का खबर है भाई अगर आप ये सब नहीं सुनोगे तो हम तो बेवकूफ हैं फिर I believe that you should not underestimate China nor overestimate it. फर्क के रखो I'll come to it a little later. We have a little time, don't worry. So, what is the danger? The danger is war or collapse, social collapse. Will China have a social collapse? Possible, the way things are going. How far will this carry on? That's a question. Will Xi Jinping go to war to prevent this? Possible. Will China's economy collapse overnight? It will not. Because it's a heavyweight economy. It's not going to collapse. It's going to stagnate. It's going to have deflation. That's not going to run away. There'll be a little bounce. Everyone says China's economy grew at 5.2%. It didn't. You take everyone. People have said it's shrunk. People have said it's 1 to 2%. People have said 3 to 4%. China says 5.2%. So I feel it may have grown 2%. But that is a false figure because the Chinese GDP itself is pretty false, as far as I'm concerned. I keep saying GDP is not the right is the right metric if your figures are reliable. It's a wrong metric if your figures are not reliable. And it has got dead GDP. All this property and infrastructure is dead GDP. They built it. It's not giving return of investment. So there could be a social collapse in China in terms of as people keep getting older, as people getting poorer, right? Because it's a communist model. He doesn't want anyone to get rich anyway. And being rich in China is not good. And this is on the net. This is everywhere. So if people are going to get poorer, that social contract is broken. So how far will Xi Jinping, if he has to keep the social contract going, he has to go to war. Pride, national rejuvenation वगैरह वगैरह करना है तो कहाँ जाएगा कैसे करेगा either people have to be given prosperity वो तो हो नहीं रहा or they have to be given pride if they have to be given pride where will he go he'll go to Taiwan India Philippines के साथ तो इसको pride नहीं मिलेगा so it has to be Taiwan or India और उसके तो हम देख रहे हैं ये तिब्बत के बारे में अरुणाचल के बारे में क्या क्या बोल रहा है कल ही yesterday I was to talk about something else ended up talking of Tibet I mean I ended up talking of Arunachal Pradesh I'm going to do a thing on Tibet also shortly because I think in my view that the time has come for us to raise the Tibet issue how do you raise the Tibet issue I gave some idea kal but how to take it further can you raise it and how do you raise it politically economically militarily कैसे कर सकते हो कुछ मेरे पास जवाब आया सारे पूरा तिब्बत में ना हिंदी नाम रख दो उससे क्या फायदा है यार आई एम नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन दैट ओके कि जितने नाम रखना है रख लो उससे कोई फायदा नहीं है सब बोलते हैं तिब्बत एक अलग देश घोषित कर दो ऐसे थोड़ी ना हो सकता है एक ही दिन उठ के सवेरे बोल दो कि भाई तिब्बत अलग देश है देयर हैज टू बी अ प्लान a political plan, an economic plan, a social plan. There has to be outreach. There has to be some किसी आधार पे होना चाहिए. But एक चीज है, दो तीन चीज important है. We are at risk. India is at risk. And this risk is economic, it's commercial, it's diplomatic, it's military. The faster we understand this, the better it is. You're going to contend with a country which is slowly sliding down, And as we keep going up, and this country is going to do everything in its power to put you down. I mean, we should be clear about that. And it has got the military to do so. It might not defeat you. They might get defeated. Like I said, there might be a stalemate. Even a stalemate is a victory for us and a defeat for China. But where does it leave our economy? We can't have a war-based economy. We can afford to have. So what do we do? How do we sidestep China? That's the challenge. Everyone says, sir, can we defeat China in a war? I'm not interested in defeating China in a war. In fact, I'm not interested in getting into a war with China. I'm interested in keeping China at bay. That we need a good neighborhood policy which works. Take all your neighbors along. It can't happen that India progresses and the neighbors बिछड़ पिछड़ जाएं. उनको भी साथ ले चलो तो वहां भी खुशहाली होगा तो सब खुश रहेंगे. So all these issues are there. Okay, I just thought today I'll put this in right perspective of the revisionist China, which is now we are going to face hereafter. If you think you're going to look at China from the old story, just forget it. The new story is now 1.5 years old. It is very clear now what China will be. Communist state, no more capitalism, no more private players, deal with the public, deal with military, deal with technology. Right. I finished. I'll take a few questions. Maybe not all, but I'll take a few questions. All right. Okay. First and foremost, Bikram, welcome as a member. Thanks for coming and contributing. I request more of you to join Ghana Shot as members because remember, if you join me as a member, you're helping a girl child go to school. All this money goes to them. As simple as that. Okay. This is not for me. This is not for my welfare. I don't need money. I mean, not from this. Okay. And I would request all of you to tell your friends to come and join Ghana Shot because, as far as I'm concerned, I've been telling you this is one of I started this to bring strategic awareness to India because we need to be strategically aware, or people need to be strategically aware and up to it. Where, since as a rising nation, we don't have think tanks which come daily and talk. Right? We need a strategic dialogue. People. Okay. I finished. I'll now take a few questions. I'll not take questions about war, shore, and all that. Okay. Akash says, Chinese leadership is fearful, scared. Their fear finds root in recent military exercises and weapons trials we are conducting quite regularly across all operational domains. You're right. We did this. I did this program with General Hasnain. I did 3 programs with General Hasnain in succession. Two in succession. I'm going. In fact, yeah, 3. I did 3 in succession. I'm going to do one more on Sunday. Join in. We're going to talk of the resurgence of global terror. But you're right. They're worried. China is worried. Let's not have any doubts. Okay. China is an insecure nation, and so they're never ending hunger for land. They will never allow India to rise peacefully. My question is, should we do it preemptively or wait for them to start a war? They will not start a war because they also can't afford a war. What they will try and do is show you down in a small exercise, in a small event. That is what you have to ensure that you forestall. No war between India and China is winnable by either China or India. They know it, we know it, and that was proven in 2020 when we mirrored the deployment completely. That's out. That's why so far you're in a face-to-face situation. Why should you preempt them into a war? Why should you actually get into a war? You don't have to. You're already aggressive in the Indian Ocean region. You know, play this game the Chinese way. You don't get provoked into a war. It will be to our detriment. That doesn't mean that you're not aggressive. There's a difference between being aggressive and not fighting. Avoid a war aggressively. Remember this. I'm telling again. Avoid a war aggressively should be your motto. Yeah, for us, strategic patience is the way forward. I go 100% with you. I saw that word strategic patience and put you on the thing. Okay, what is the cost differential between on wage basis between Mexico and China for industrial products? The point is this: the cost differential is not the issue. The issue is China fellow says, I will set up a factory there and I'll manufacture it there. So what he's dealing with Mexico is not using their wages. He's not paying Mexicans wages. He's paying Chinese at Chinese rates in Mexico and giving money to the Mexican government and using NAFTA to export to USA. Please understand the story. So if you go by differential wages, you'll never end up. It's still Chinese wages, Chinese norms, everything. It's like the Belt and Road. Factories being set up in Mexico, run by China, some money given to Mexico, but sold through the NAFTA route to USA. That's the whole story. Yeah, can you please share your thoughts on what will happen as Trump's comeback versus China? Will it be the same or will Xi accelerate Taiwan takeover and benefit to India? Okay, as Trump and Modi seem good pals. That's a $100 million question. The trend line is that he will increase tariffs against China. How will he do it? We don't know. The danger in this is that his commitment to Europe is not much. If he's not committed to Europe and NATO and he withdraws from there, then Europe is left on its own to fend itself against Russia and China. So then Europe is in a tough position. Europe will buckle. That's the danger with Trump. With India, there's no problem. We have already taken what we have to do. He'll come to India. We are at the forefront. Our government is protecting all that nonsense, and the the factories which are reshoring to India also want it. They said, right, we don't want Chinese to come and set up factories here to be our competition. We are okay with that. Please understand what India is doing. If you are allowing Samsung and Apple to set up factories here, you are not allowing Xiaomi and all those Vivo, Shivo to come here. उनके अगेंस्ट तो केस चल रहा है. So they are out. These phones are in. So you are denied your market to them. You're denying. Others are not able to do so far. So that's where it is. What is the contribution by China's EdTech in propelling its phenomenal educational growth? What is the implication on its dismemberment, on its future growth prospect? Look, they have this system had this very competitive system to get higher education. For that, the EdTech sector was there, and that EdTech sector was pretty rich. That's broken. But people are still going for private tutors. So the EdTech sector has morphed there and become costlier. And that's now out of regulation also. Their phenomenal education growth was through this competitiveness. There's no doubt. And look, the communists did something. They felt that women contribution to workforce is a must, and women should study and contribute equally to the workforce, our women participation in India in workforce is very low. You have to grant it to them. They did phenomenal things. But EdTech sector is gone. It's become costly. Private tuitions have become costly. So it's going to have a problem on their education. The quality of their education is going to go down. And combined with the fact that enough people are not getting jobs, educated people. So those chaps say, no, we don't, and they can't go abroad now. They're not going abroad. Earlier, they used to go abroad. My own experience when I went for my son's graduation in California, I saw 5, 6 Indians, but I saw 500 Chinese doing their PhDs and walking away. When I asked that professor of my son, कि क्या है ये सब चाइना चले जाएंगे or they'll work here and go to China. That is changed, or I suppose it's changing. We'll have to see. Okay, I'm from EU. The vehicle lobby is very strong, so EV dumping will be handled through import duties and most importantly, after sale services very important for EU customers, which China doesn't. You're right. So there's going to be a problem for China in selling their cars there. And if the auto industry in EU goes there, they have very little left. Okay, why is India not banning Chinese goods and investments? We have done hell of a lot. We are at the forefront of this. But yet, we need certain things for which we have to go to China. API is one, this small level cell phones and all is one. But slowly we are putting up barriers. I told you, we are putting up the maximum barriers. We've almost stopped all investments. वो पहले ब्रिज भी बनाते थे, यहाँ रोड भी बना देते थे, सब कुछ बंद हो गया अभी. Yeah, metals are trading very high rates in India stock market. Analysts say due to China is rising. I agree with you because their stress is on manufacturing. Metals will go up because they're buying metals and they're producing more. That's why their purchasing management managers index has also gone up. It's come into positive zone. But that overcapacity has to go somewhere. Where? It's too early to judge what's going to happen. Just wait for another 2, 3, 4 months, and then the picture will become clear. Don't jump just because the stock market has gone up. स्टॉक मार्केट एनालिस्ट आज ये बोलेगा कल वो बोलेगा वो तो डोल है यहाँ भी बजाएगा वहां भी बजाएगा वेट फॉर अ कपल ऑफ मंथ्स जवाहरलाल जी ओके राइट always enjoy your analysis. My question, in spite of so many differences in India and China, why our economic imbalance in favor of China is on rise? How to get away from it? Had to happen because the primary goods are coming from China. You are doing value addition and converting them into tertiary goods and exporting. Your export is going up because you're importing more from China. Even China is doing the same thing. Their imports also will go up if their exports have to go up. Okay. Our thing is, how do you recreate the API thing? API is the main thing. Baki sub cell phone we can sort out. And certain amount of trade is good. API, if you can reduce the API, okay, then your pharmaceutical industry can be self-sufficient in India. Mind you, we were self-sufficient until 2000 in API, active pharmaceutical ingredients. Why is India standing with the West? Indians should be standing firm with Asia and replacing Western world order to Asian world order. Which Asian country will be the leader, whether India or China is later? We are not interested in this, Gatsy ji. We are not interested in the Asian world order. Because as per Asian world order, as per the Chinese thinking, it is China. We are not standing with the West. We are standing with India. Be very clear. We want to be, India has to be on its own. We are not, when it suits us, we will be with the West. When it suits us, we will be with Russia. Under most conditions, we will be against China. Be very clear about it. we are very clear how to handle the West and China. Okay. Yeah. Is there something called inflation and deflation? What's happening in China is the same thing that happened in USA. They came out of it by entering in World War II. How do you think China doesn't have a role, doesn't at this point of time have a playbook to come out of it. The playbook is being played out in front of you. Xi Jinping has taken a commitment to go in for manufacturing and make him a financial superpower. So he says high-end manufacturing, technology is the way forward. Exports is the way forward. He's not coming it out of entering World War II and all that. If he goes into World War, he's gone. Because remember, unlike USA, China is a resource deficient nation. It doesn't have rice, it doesn't have wheat, it doesn't have oil, it doesn't have material. All this it imports. Russia, USA and Russia are net exporters of almost everything, including technology. Okay, tie the leg. Tibet is the biggest card for India when it comes to China. It is not at this point of time. It can be. You have to work for it. At this point of time, Tibet is not a card. Let me be very clear. You have to work. If you start working, then Tibet, you can get leverage out of Tibet maybe 3, 4 years down the line. It will become a card if you work for it. For that, your internal strength is required. Your internal politics has to be strong. Yeah, some Western analysts believe that the Chinese property problem would bottom out by middle of 24. Venkat Tata, the middle of 24 is 3 months away, June. Let's come back 3 months from now. I will do a program on the property crisis. And you come and conduct as a guest and justify to me that it is out. Look, you have to understand Western problem. The Western problem, a lot of Western stock chaps, their pension funds, their all kinds of state funds are sunk in China. They invested in China. अगर चाइना का बीन नहीं बजाएंगे तो वो पैसा वापस नहीं आएगा इनको. Please understand the games which are at play. Okay, right. Third, your Topiwala comment on China is the crux here. Feeling of people worldwide on China. The Chinese feel they can control world manufacturing and run the world one point. It will not happen, JBJP. Don't worry. Very difficult. China is such a dystopia. They'll leverage technology to make what they need while the people suffer in poverty. It's completely unsustainable, but the Chinese people seem to lack spine. Remember, this is the same country where revolutions took place. So don't rule anything out. They'll try and leverage technology. People will go poor. One day they will burst. And that day, Xi Jinping will say, Haath jodo. It happened, COVID, those white sheet demonstrations. People, went to the streets for the bank loans and mortgages. Immediately changed track. On that, he's very clear. Chatak hai banda. Okay, I'll take someone new. Okay. Harjeet the Bubbar, our PM visited Bhutan. Do give us a talk on that. I've done a full episode on that. Please have a look at it with General Hasnain. I think you are new, okay, to my channel. So please go see that. Already it's gone. A lot of people have seen it. Have a look at it. Okay, now let me see. Gautam Tendulkar, he says, yeah. Jai Shri Ram, fine. Jai Shri Ram is not a bad thing. Sanju B, namaste, sir. Is it possible to do a podcast on opium wars with General Rajiv Narayanan? Look, opium wars is the last century. अगर पीछे ही देखते रहोगे तो rear view mirror में ही you will see everything. I'm not interested in wasting my time there. If Rajiv Narayanan has time, fine. He actually doesn't have time. I have given him. I spoke to him day before yesterday. I said, look, why don't you do? I want to do one how Taiwan. What is the difference between Cold War One and Cold War Two, which is going on? He said, sir, time नहीं है मेरे पास till the end of the month. I said, ठीक है, I'll wait. तो वो उस हालत में ओपीएम और क्या देखना है यार, छोड़ो. Yeah, single person is the chairman of CCP against us, and yeah, it's a fact. He's against us. There's no doubt. Okay, Arunachal, can we? Arunachal, I've been seeing a lot of your comments and a lot of your thing. I can't, I get these days. I'm getting a lot of comments on various things. I'm not able to answer, but I think you're giving me very good things to think of. Can we reach out to Chinese adversaries like Hong Kong, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia? We are doing it. Singapore is not going to help us. सिंगापुर भी वही है, वहां से यहाँ. इट्स लाइक अ डोल, वो दोनों साइड बजाएगा. एंड रिमेंबर, सिंगापुर हैज ओवर 50% चाइनीज. दे विल नॉट act against China. Indonesia is a soft country. It has, see, you have to understand the East Asian countries. They want to trade with China and security with USA. That's their mantra. Hong Kong is gone. So we are doing what we have to do with Taiwan. We are doing with Philippines, yes, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam. These are the 5 countries which we have to increase our thing. But as part of a military diplomacy, if you can export more to Indonesia, if you can export more to Malaysia and Singapore and do their training and military diplomacy along with them, it will be beneficial. There's no doubt in what you're saying. Yeah. Nanda Anna, did China grab 4,000 square kilometer land claimed by Subramaniam Swamy under Modi's rule? Your comments, please. This has been bashed unnecessarily. There's no land grab which has happened. We are still under negotiation in those two pieces, in Demchok and Depsang. I've been explaining this. We are at a point where somewhere halfway between what our claim, our patrolling rights are. In fact, more towards our side in Depsang and Demchok. We have a patrolling limit on the other side. They have a patrolling limit on this side where the face-off is taking place. The thing is, from the face-off point to our side is less area than that side. So that is what is being termed as land grab, which is, I think, premature. Okay, there's a lot of time. Okay, Amitesh Behra still wants to talk of war, which I'm not going to talk. And NSCN leaders also, I'm not going to talk. Yeah, I think we have come to the end of today's topic. I'll talk of NSCN because NSCN and things like that, we'll do a separate thing we can discuss then. And look, please, Amitesh, you keep asking questions at the wrong time. Let me be very upfront with you. Whatever we are talking of, talk of that. I'll answer. If you talk of something else, I'm talking of China. You're saying war with China. वो नहीं होता, ठीक है? And same thing, Neeraj. You're talking of NSC, and this is not an open session. So please, when I come for open sessions, ask me anything. Or when I talk of Nagaland, what's happening there, I'll tell you. I know what's happening, but I should be very clear what I'm talking of. I need to be focused, and then I'll come and give a program on this. I'll get General Shokin Chauhan. He was the advisor, right, for the peace talks. So he knows everything backwards. I'll get him over. Right, I finished today. Thanks a lot for saying. If you people have liked this, tell your friends to come in. If you're subscribed, I mean, those of you saying Ghana Shot for the first time, subscribe. I'll keep coming back with good topics. Tomorrow I'm going to talk of ASPA, Armed Forces Special Powers Act, with Satish Dua. Because That is something which is coming up because our Home Minister said it's under reconsideration and things like that. Important. Internally, we'll focus. We'll talk of Kashmir, we'll talk of Nagaland, we'll talk of Manipur and anywhere else. We're going to talk of as far as a whole. Ask your questions, we'll answer. Whether it's in Kashmir, Nagaland, or Manipur, we'll answer. Right? And then I'm going to talk of Pakistan because Pakistan is going through something very funny. Please read the article by Aisha Siddiqa, on what's going on in Pakistan in New York Times. There are layers to it, which I've asked Dushan to come and speak. Global terror is coming back. We're going to analyze it with the thing. And then we're going to talk of two-front war. Likelihood of two-front war next week with about 5 people. Interesting things. Come over. We're going to make things very, very interesting and open. And I'm going to focus on our own story. Next week, sometime, I've asked Sri Iyer, P Gurus, we'll do a program on Taiwan. Or not Taiwan. Will Xi Jinping go to war? All you people are asking so many questions. Will he go to war? How will he go to war? When will he go to war? All these questions will answer. I'm going to do a program completely only on that. The next week, I will do a program on thorium technology also. So all these are there. So just be patient. And all the best to you. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.